What's happening, people? What you need in the building. So we'll discuss the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. card. We'll talk about Blake McKernan versus Badu Jack. We'll talk about uh, Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson. And we'll talk about Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. We're going to wrap this up real quick. First of all, I must say the commentary team for these fights was fantastic. We need more Snoop Doggy Dogg up in the building. Snoop Dogg made it all just so good. I mean, the commentary is just smooth. Snoop. We need Snoop on the commentary team for boxing, man. He brings the jokes in there and everything. Oh yeah. I loved it. I loved it. I love it. Bring back Snoop. Bring back Snoop for boxing. Snoop is gonna be good for boxing. We had Sugar Ray Leonard, we had Snoop. We had the guy from Showtime, who's the hype man. We had two other commentators. I think one was a boxer. I don't know what their names were, but two guys. I'm not too sure who they were. But hey, I gotta say, man, Snoop made this thing so much fun to listen to. And the beautiful thing about the boxing was it was fun. It was fun, you know. And that's what you want. I think it was I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure who it was BJ Flores that we were hearing, but it was another boxer. Anyways, let's get to it. So, um, let me start off with Nate Robinson versus Jake Paul. Now I told y'all Jake Paul would win. He would stop Nate Robinson. I expected that. Nate Robinson came out though, and he was street. He was going at him. He was even switch hitting and everything. He was going southpaw orthodox. Shout out to Nate Robinson, man. He tried his best, but man, that dude, he got soundly countered with the right hand. The jab, jab, right hand. It was like it was working for Jake Paul. He took his time. When Nate Robinson rushed in, clinched him up, stopped the action, and he set him up with the jab, knocked him down multiple times, about three times I think he knocked him down. Then he stopped him cold. J Ho Melmaz, what's up, my brother? Yeah, he stopped him cold. The first time he dropped him, Snoop said, "What did he sing?" He started singing. He started singing a song. He said, "Oh my lord!" I loved it. The commentary was just on point. It was funny as hell. And it's funny how Snoop, when Nate got knocked out, they was like, they was like, "Oh man, I hope he's okay." And Snoop was like, "Ah, yeah, he okay. He's street fighting. He'll get back up." It's the way how Snoop said it. And Snoop actually knows his boxing. He knew that Nate wasn't necessarily playing best defense. He was doing more offense than defense. And they explained when you're excited and everything. You know what was so cool about that fight? For those of us who have never actually done a professional boxing match like myself, um, it was just interesting to hear him speaking and hear the other people dissecting how anxious you could be in a professional boxing match to get it on. And it's about composure and all these things. That's why I'm not rushing into trying to do professional boxing. I'm not rushing into there to get into the action. I'm taking my time. When I get in there, as prepared as possible. You don't want to just be stepping into that ring and getting the Nate Robinson treatment because you rushed in. You rushed in on a punch. You wasn't well balanced. You couldn't pull back. You couldn't snap back. You couldn't block. You couldn't defend yourself. You wasn't bringing your hands back in time, like Snoop was saying. And it's the way how Snoop was saying it was super, super cool. You know what I'm saying? uh, so cool. Snoop, man. They need to have Snoop commenting on boxing, man. It would be great. Very entertaining night. Jake Paul did what he was supposed to do with a guy who has no professional boxing experience whatsoever, and Jake Paul's been doing it now for years. He's been doing it now for 2 3 years straight. Just been boxing. So, and Jake, to me, Jake's the better of the two. Logan's good technically speaking, but he don't have that. He don't really have that kind of attack mode that Jake have. Jake is like Jake literally looked like this is what this is what he wanted to do. Logan, he's good at it, but he don't have the heart for it. Jake has the heart for it. He's a killer through and through. Jake's a killer through. And Jake looked big and strong. In fact, in in the face off, Nate looked like he was afraid of Jake. He looked like he was afraid of Jake when he's staring at Jake, because Jake's so much bigger than him. Hey, but I gotta give Nate mad props for stepping into that ring, and looking, getting concussed like that. I hope if he's going to really be serious about this boxing thing and not just a celebrity, he got now clean out, like cold, iced. he should continue. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get stopped in your first fight. Bernard Hopkins got stopped in his first fight. You know what I mean? J. Homel Maz HD said, "You got Jake whooping on KSI." Yeah. Jake beats KSI. KSI too sloppy. Jake's surgical. Yeah. Jake knocks out KSI for sure. Yeah, Jake Paul, in terms of people who are not professional boxers, really. Well, he's a professional boxer now because he has 2 professional fights, of which he has 2 KOs. But if you come in reckless on Jake Paul, you're not moving your head, you're not bobbing and weaving, you're just diving in there, you're going to get knocked out, right? You're going to get knocked out. He's going to counterpunch you and knock you out. I mean, hey, he's improved a lot. So, you can tell day and night this kid be working on his boxing. So that's a very good thing for Jake Paul. You know what I mean? All right, let's go on to the next fight, which was Badou Jack versus Blake McKernan. And that, my friends, is what you call a thorough whoop ass. That was a beat down. That was a beat down. I mean, Badou Jack did everything but drop this guy or knock him out. You know what I mean? Kudos to Blake McKernan. But if it was given a couple more seconds, I think Badou would have got him out of there. Badou he really stepped up the game and started putting some heat on the kid. And you could tell McKernan, he was just tying up at a certain point because those were like, God damn, those were nasty punches, man. It was just nasty. And I was watching that, I was saying it's a matter of time before he get him out of there. But kudos to McKernan, man. Tough guy, but he took a beating. He took a comprehensive beating in that fight. He had some boxing skills, but oh man, Badou Jack just made him, he dog walked. He dog walked him. You know what I mean? There ain't no other way to put it. You know what I mean? J. Homel Mass says that Jake Paul is taking boxing seriously for sure. With BJ Flores, man, he doing a great job with Jake Paul. So we have to look forward to seeing what Jake Paul has next in store. But other the guys that I've seen who have never really had a career in boxing, Jake Paul is the best out of them. And JJ. JJ ain't stand a chance against Jake Paul. He's not beating Jake Paul. He's not. But kudos to JJ, man. JJ was able to do a lot, but you have to be boxing. You have to be training all the time. And Jake Paul puts in the work, you know what I mean? Badou Jack beat the crap. That's why they say they levels to boxing. A lot of people don't understand that. Guys talk the talk. They think they tough guys or whatever. They got a little skill. But they don't understand that, you facing a guy that was a 2-time world champion. Well, a 1-time. No, actually. He was a 2-time world champion. Was he? No, he wasn't really Did he ever have a... Yes, he did. Okay. Yeah, 2-time world champion. People don't understand these things, right? There's levels to the sport of boxing. And Yeah, so McKernan took his first loss, but he a tough guy. He a tough guy. You know, he remind me a little bit of Mickey Ward, but kudos to him. But he took a beating. He took a bad, bad beating. That was a bad beating. That'll affect him later on in his career. You know, you can't be taking them kind of beatings, man. On to the main event: Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. Man, I told y'all, man, y'all must have forgot. Y'all must have forgot. If you watched my video before, you would hear me saying, you know, I picked Roy to do his thing in there, and I said this will give you some kind of idea of what would happen if Mike Tyson faced the Floyd Mayweather. Now, like I said before, and if you go and watch my previous videos, you see that I said Roy would have to fight him either on the outside or on the inside, but he cannot allow Mike Tyson to have mid-range. He has to shut him down on the inside because that's where Mike Tyson does his best work, and he has to box him on the outside. And Roy did that. That's what he did. He executed the game plan. Now, obviously, it was an exhibition fight. They both end up with a draw. Mike Tyson did land the heavier punches, but Roy did his thing to handle his stories in the fight. Both guys threw back their hands at time. Mike Tyson looked young. Mike Tyson needs a little bit more work. He needs a little bit more fights. You know, as I expected, he came out rusty. But Roy immediately established range with his unorthodox angles, leading off of both hands, you know, pivoting like I said he would do. Beautiful escape routes. His feet was working. His hands was working. Roy brought it back for one night. You know what I mean? Mike did his thing too. Don't get me wrong. He did his thing when he got Roy in the corner. He's running off punches, but Roy was rolling the punches. You know what I mean? He's rolling his body with the punches. You know, it's beautiful stuff, beautiful boxing. But as I said before, I thought Roy was the more skilled fighter of the two. Mike has to reset once Roy got his escape route and get out of there and pivot out the way. Now Mike has to reset, and then when Roy would clinch him up, Mike has to reset. You know, the only thing I had a problem with though, there was points in the later rounds, rounds 6, 7, and 8, where Roy would clinch up with Mike and the referee wouldn't break him immediately because when Roy started clinching up with Mike in I think it was rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, because Roy was tired because Mike was beating his ass. He was landing some hard body shots, man. But when Roy would clinch up, there was no action. Roy would just push him to the ropes, push him backwards to the ropes, and that was it. And you know, the referee should have broken them. He should have broken them up because there was nothing else happening. Now, in the earlier rounds, when Roy would clinch him up, they would still be landing some punches on the inside. Tyson was working the inside. Roy was working the inside. But you know, something for Mike Tyson to consider, and great work by Mike Tyson. You came back from being, you know, 15 years of not boxing. Shout out to Mike Tyson. 15 years of not boxing, and you look fresh in there. In fact, at the end of the fight, the guy who was tired, aka Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler, remind me of, was Roy Jones Jr. He was fatigued. He was tired out of his socks. Whereas Mike Tyson could have gone another 8 rounds, it looked like. Mike Tyson looked fresh as a fiddle. And that just all goes to show Mike's cardio and his workout. I just hope Mike stays with it because when George Foreman first came back, he lost a couple fights. But I presume that if Mike just stay with it. Now here's the thing, Mike, you got to learn how to get out of a clinch. You got to learn how to get out of a clinch. And this is my quick little tip to Mike Tyson: how to get out of a clinch. So how do you get out of a clinch? A guy who's clinching you under your arm and on top. Well, you got to anticipate the guy coming in first to clinch you because you know he's going to slide in the clinch, right? That's the first thing you got to know. The second thing you need to do is get low. So this is a martial art proceeding I know from something known as Shidoru, which is in close fighting. I'm going to demonstrate it. It's something that Alexander Povetkin uses. That's what he used against the Cuban fighter. And that's how he caught him. So Mike Tyson, this for you. So if a guy comes in to clinch you up this way, he's going to grapple this arm here and grapple up here, right? He's got to come in, which means he's got to slide in, right? He's got to slide in. And he's going to slide in like this, right? He's going to come in off a jab and slide in. So this is what you do. When he comes in to grab you, of course, you might be like this, whatever. You might be like this or this. What you do is you go in and down. So he has to come over you. And then you roll. You got to roll this way or you roll this way. So for Mike Tyson, who's used to bobbing and weaving, this should be easy work. He can't grab you if you tuck it in. Tuck it in, come under and around. Under and around. Right? He can't grab nothing. And if he come grabbing at you, you can push him off with the forearms. Keep the hands tight inside. Push him off. And that's for Mike Tyson, just in case Evander Holyfield has to face him. And Evander Holyfield's a physically strong guy on the inside. Mike Tyson, you got to build some strength on the inside. You got to start working on pushing guys around. Pushing guys around. Because you got the frame and you are strong. I can see you physically. You look physically more solid than Roy. The problem with it was that Mike doesn't use his strength for that. He uses it exclusively for boxing. But in boxing, you got to be good at other things too. You can't just be good at just the simple pure boxing. So what I asked Mike to do, because he looked in phenomenal shape, he looked well conditioned, but he keeps on getting smothered, especially on the inside. And Mike has great inside game, but he fight too clean. What I mean by that is, Mike Tyson has to learn how to use his elbows, and I mean use your elbows to get a guy off. So if I have my hands in this way, this is another thing, it's a martial arts move, okay? If I have my hands in this way, okay, and a guy's coming at me, this is how I can get him off of me, all right? So the first thing I do, he comes to grab me, right? He's coming to grab me, right? So what I do, I go this way, and then I do like this. Okay? And in one smooth motion, I can go so, or I can come, just especially if he's coming in, sliding this way with his chin up in the air or his head like this. All right? Alexander Povetkin does it. It's a downward motion. In martial arts, if I'm here in a martial arts stance and you try to do that to me, it's this motion. Okay? I roll out of it. I exaggerate my whole entire body by pushing my shoulder. I go down and out. The elbows out. This way, when you're coming in for a clinch on me, you're going to try and slide in this way, right? Across this way and this way, right? You're trying to get me like this. So I'm going to break it. I'm going to break it. I can come this way, or I can break it this way and come over. That's Alexander Povetkin. All right? I'll break your clinch. Marcos Maidana. Watch Marcos Maidana. Alexander Povetkin. All right? It's a martial arts move. It's not just in boxing. I learned it in Shitaro. I want to break a guy who, if a guy's trying to hold me from behind, think of it as if you tie me with a rope, right? But you didn't fully tie it. I'll break the rope by opening my arms out like this, right? I can break the rope from you, right? So it's the same sort of action in boxing, right? So Mike Tyson, brilliant performance by you, especially at certain points in the fight where you got Roy in the corner. He started running off those combinations. He surely felt those combinations. You know, he tucked himself and everything. But as I said before, Roy's just a different kind of fighter. You know, Roy's a different kind of fighter. He doesn't fight you the typical way. He's not just a jab guy, okay? He's not just going to pop the jab at you, right? He's not just going to pop the jab and this, right? Right? He's not just going to do that, all right? He's got a lot more to his game. So I'll demonstrate, right? He can catch you here. So you go, okay, so let me do it at the camera. Okay? And then just come back and steal the right hand. I'm a southpaw, right here. So I steal the right hand, and I roll under if I want to go back this way. Or I steal the right hand and I go this way. Okay? He's sick like that. All right. You see Manny Pacquiao do those things, but Roy could do it with either hand. He could stick the jab. Okay, so he can stick the jab this way, right? Pull back this way, and then steal the right hand and go this way. He's sick like that. That's Roy. Okay? That's why I knew Roy different. Right? He could steal the right hand and roll back this way. So he had many different ways he could go in the ring. And you saw him doing it. You saw him stealing the right hand one way. You saw him stealing the left hand one way. He went southpaw and steal the left hand one way. Right? And he got some pop on it too. So that's what make Roy Roy. Mike had to be patient. Mike got to be patient. You see? Catch it. Pivot. And watch for him. If he goes this way, catch it, pivot. That's what you got to do with a guy like that. So, because I study martial arts, right? So every action is an equal opposite reaction. There's always something to neutralize what another guy is doing. But when another guy has more skill sets, he has more tools than another guy who may be not one dimensional, but he's good at one particular thing. But this other guy's good at multiple things. And that's why we say skills pay the bills. The guy with more skills who have him refined, he got more options. And if you got more options, you have more ability to make adjustments to a guy who may do one particular thing. So your game plan, you can go to plan B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? So I hope you guys understand a little bit about that, because I knew, that's why I told y'all, people say, oh, Mike Tyson gonna knock out Roy and blah, blah. I was like, and then I told y'all my pick. I told you I picked Roy to get out the victory. He didn't get the victory, he got a draw, but pretty much it was a victory. And Mike did his thing. He did his thing in there. You know, Mike did his thing. It was good. It was exciting. But, you know, you're talking about Roy, man. Roy's he's a different beast. He's a different animal. You know, and that's why a lot of people say Mike Tyson versus Floyd Mayweather. Mike Tyson, if he was the same size, that was Showbiz the Adult. If he was the same size as Floyd Mayweather, prime Mike Tyson would have beaten up Floyd Mayweather. The speed, I'm like, dude, do you even understand that Floyd can do so many other things that Mike Tyson can't do? Right? And Floyd would have done it with less movement than Roy does. Roy uses a lot more movement than Floyd would use, you know. So, but Roy is so exciting to watch that it was just fun to see Roy do his thing, and to hear what's his name? To hear Snoop talking, man. Sugar Ray Leonard was talking too, and Sugar Ray Leonard obviously, you know, enjoyed what Roy was doing. Everybody was watching the Roy. And Sugar Ray Leonard enjoyed what Roy was doing because Sugar Ray Leonard had to fight Marvin Hagler. You know, was a much bigger guy than he was. And so he appreciated it a lot. So what Roy was doing was similar to what Sugar Ray Leonard would have done to a marvelous Marvin Hagler. You know what I mean? And Roy did his thing. Mike Tyson did his thing, though. Don't get it wrong. But I'm just saying that you know, because he did wear down Roy. It reminded me of Leonard versus Hagler, actually. This fight reminded me of Leonard versus Hagler a lot. A lot. You know, but you got to give it to Mike Tyson, though. Came back after 15 years, got back in shape. And I hope he keeps on pressing onwards. You know, this was a good fight for him to get his feet. The only problem with it is that you know, sometimes your mentality might change. So I hope that, you know, he's able to get along with his wife and his kids, everybody be good. And then when he's ready to train, or, you know, keep himself in shape, at least keep himself in shape, you know, enjoy himself. I mean, it's his life, you know, make sure he treats his children, his wife, his family well. But at the same time, he goes to the gym, he do his thing. You know what I mean? because I'm telling you, man, Legends Only is a good thing. I hope it gets successful. I hope they make a lot of money with the pay-per-views. I think Roy's done with I think Roy's done with boxing. He might do a little something with Anderson Silva, but I don't think he's gonna face no other boxer after this. But a great performance by Roy Jones Jr. I told y'all he won't go get stopped. A lot of people say, "Oh, Roy's gonna get stopped." No, he ain't gonna get stopped. And now I can say with confidence. Um, and it was a good show. It was a good show. Money well spent. I'm gonna catch y'all guys later. I'm what you need. If you guys got anything else you want me to say or talk about, I can always talk about it later. Tomorrow Sunday. So I'll see what people have to say about it, but that's my take on it. I hope you guys have a good night. God bless you all. For the people, I hope that you guys stay healthy and well in this season, of a lot of uncertainty. But just trust in God, man. Trust in God. There's a lot of things going on out here that, you know, again, people are pressing forward for the right things. You can see the good people trying to press for the right things. So we just gotta look out for the good people that are pressing for the right things. I identify with some of the progressive people on the left. I identify with some of the people also, the progressives as they call them. I also identify a little bit with some of the people who are on the right as well. Especially the younger people, the younger generations of people. So I hope, I'm much older than them, but I hope that they get more say and their votes count because I realize a lot of the younger people have been disenfranchised. And a lot more young people have voted in elections, and that's good. But elections isn't enough. And I see already that President Joe Biden's going down a road that is not necessarily in the best interest of all groups of people. And I hope that he listens and doesn't alienate the progressive people, the progressive movement, because the progressive movement is young people. The young people make the progressive movement. And also on the right, we have some young people who are different. They're not Trumpian at all. They're Republican, but they also have a movement going on there as well. So, especially with the entrepreneurs. So, it's very important that people look out for each other and listen to this younger generation that's coming up, because they're the future leaders, and I really look out for them. Now, the thing that I think that's going to happen is I think Donald Trump's trying to line up his daughter, Ivanka Trump, to either her or her husband to run for president in the next 4 years. I think that's what's up. Either them or somebody like them. But I think that's where he would want to go if he doesn't get into prison. That would be very, very embarrassing that a president of the United States ends up in prison. But if he's not sentenced or something, then I think that's what they'll be pushing for the next generation of people. My thing is this. My thing is that and I'm talking politics. I really shouldn't be talking so much politics. They say you shouldn't talk politics and religion, but I'm gonna give you all a couple bits here. My thing is this, right? I don't have a problem talking politics or anything. My thing is the approach that people are having. There's certain approaches that they have into COVID, for example, with this mask thing, which the politicians are not even obeying their own rules with the mask. But that thing with the mask thing is something that I have an issue with. But nonetheless, I will say that um, we have to be careful out here. The vaccines and the masks, well, particularly the vaccines now that they're talking about as the bailout thing. You know what I mean? I'm listening. I'm paying attention to what's going on to see where that is going. I'm not against vaccines, but I know people can put things in vaccines, and that's my fear is that they would lace these vaccines with some sort of chemical, or they would chip people through nanotech technology or otherwise using the vaccines, because Bill Gates is still a guy behind vaccines. And that's not necessarily something that I have the utmost confidence in. And seeing what, has happened in different countries, that have been, guinea pigs for vaccines and stuff. I'm not really particularly interested in that. I prefer to go more on my naturopathic routes, of course. I'm not against vaccines per se. Vaccines can be useful and helpful, but it's just I have my skepticisms about a lot of things because I've seen the ugly head of how this COVID thing was pushed in various parts of the world, and the false information that was given by people who didn't even have COVID, who were listed as COVID cases. So it's obvious that, like I said before, I think this is still a pandemic, that it came out to be out of control thanks to Donald Trump. And this probably was an incident that could have been capped right in China. This didn't have to spread beyond China. It happened to spread beyond China, but a lot of illnesses and diseases are spread all over Africa, and nobody really give a damn. So it's just that, this is natural consequence to that, in my personal opinion. And I just personally believe that, what has happened is because, people have been rating it as the worst possible thing ever, but Ebola happened in Africa. You know what I mean? It didn't spread past Africa because of certain measures that was taken, globally and otherwise. But Ebola was a bad one. You know what I mean? They had H1N1, they had bird flu, they had cow disease, mad cow disease. A lot of crazy things happened in the last couple of years. Okay. But people took precautions to take necessary measures to prevent those things. But these are things that are being made in the lab. Obviously, this is stuff made in the lab. This is not something that's naturally occurring. This is something that's making, men are making these things. All right. Why are they making them? I don't know. Unless they're using it for warfare, or they've been using it for warfare for years. Who are we to know? But there's obviously something fishy about all of those things. And there's nothing wrong with being skeptical, and you should be skeptical, but you have to be careful how you have to be able to balance information, people. Okay? Right now, there are intimidatory tactics by certain people in my country so that people wear masks. Okay? You walk in the road, there's no one in the road, but they're telling you you need to wear your mask still. Fuck, I'm not gonna curse, but hell no. Okay? If it's an empty road, I don't need to be wearing no damn mask. Okay? Now, if I'm around people and, within a certain distance of people, obviously, okay, you wear some sort of protection, especially somebody's coughing or something. And there are people in my country who are just so, they don't care about other people. Just recently, someone was in a marketplace without a mask. He's selling produce and he's coughing all over his produce. And people are like, what the hell? First of all, what are you even doing here? Secondly, why are you're not even covering your mouth or anything? You're not even wearing a mask. Why would I buy anything from you? You know what I mean? There's these insensitive, stupid people out here who make it difficult for people who actually take precautions and stuff. So I get why a government would say wear a mask, but when you start to mandate certain really ridiculous rules, like, once you're in a public place and it doesn't matter, you can get fined for it. And I'm like, yeah, I could be in a public space, but there's nobody around for me to infect. So what are you really saying then? And then they come up with these new rules. Well, the virus can stay in the atmosphere for very long periods of, shut up. If that was the case, then all of us would be sick right now. And we're not. So stop with the nonsense. They try to make up, these people are making up new rules to basically say, well, you have to do this because we command you to do it. I'm not doing it because you command me to do it. I will civilly disobey. I don't have a problem disobeying. And I say on international internet so people hear, because it's nonsense. Okay. And even the people supposedly proponents of masks, we see them without masks sometimes. All right. They know how dumb it is. It's only a sensible. I'm not saying that wearing masks is dumb. You can prevent, of course, the spread of a virus using a mask. Of course, you can prevent it by, coughing into something, but still stuff comes out. Okay. and it's just common sense, okay? Mask is supposed to bring people into people use with any kind of spread of pandemic or disease or whatever. People usually put on masks. So let's just get that for real, right? The problem I have with it is if you have discipline. What I mean by that is you take the necessary precautions, you clean your hands, right? You keep sanitation, in other words. You're not up into people's faces and talking to them, right? You're staying at a respectable distance away from people. If you're not coughing or sneezing, but you're breathing, right? You're not going to breathe on somebody 6 feet away from you. So even the social distancing makes some sort of sense. You know what I mean? And if you're going to shake somebody's hand, you can shake somebody's hand. You're not going to spread the virus through the skin. It doesn't go through the skin, right? So you shake somebody's hand. What do you do after you shake somebody's hand? What do you do when you come from a hospital? Don't you wash your hands? What do you wash your hands? It's personal hygiene that keeps these pandemics from happening. And then you boost your immune system, you use things that you're supposed to use. This coronavirus behaves like almost any coronavirus out there. It's gonna have it follows those rules at least. Okay? Now everybody's pushing wear a mask. You can wear a mask and be in air conditioned environment and you're just as risk. This is the dumb thing about my country. We have transportation in my country, right? And they're all air conditioned. So whether you're wearing a mask, a face shield, or whatever, right? You go into that transportation. Guess what? Guess what? There's no free flowing air. You're contained in a box. So if somebody does have COVID, they can actually spread it if they cough or whatever. And it's the dumb thing about it. Now, if you have an open air flow system where you turn down the windows and the air is flowing through the vehicle, guess what? A guy would say, well, if I spray perfume spray, everybody will smell it. Yes, but for how long if it's a flowing air system? So yeah, people feel that you just get infected by one virus. One virus can take you down. No, you have an immune system. It's a colony of viruses. There's a certain threshold of viruses that can get past your immune system if it's not fully well prepared, if it's weakened. It get past that immune system and they infect you. But it's through a colony or population of viruses. So that's what a lot of people just don't understand. It's like a lot of things people don't understand. So yeah, I can spray a perfume spray in an um air conditioned transport, right? And it'll stay in that system longer than if it's free flowing. If air's flowing in and out all the time, it's going to be there, but it's going to go in a matter of seconds, right? So it's like common sense things, but a lot of people just don't have common sense to think for themselves because they're always in this scared state, and especially the older people. Oh my God. So it is what it is. But you're not going to just get coronavirus, just um, you know, by osmosis or something. You know what I mean? It doesn't just happen like that. The people who are infected with the virus, even if they're symptomatic, you have to actually be touching, be in contact with them, very close to them, constantly in a contained system with them, like in your homes where your house is closed up, most of it. That's where you can get it because you're constantly in contact with these people, right? And this Thanksgiving, here's the precaution. Because a lot of people went to Thanksgiving, because most people just don't want to listen and they just do whatever they want to do. But most people go to Thanksgiving. I talk with my neighbors all the time, right? There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but you don't know because the conditions are not controlled. You don't know who may have the virus or not, where they're coming from. People may be asymptomatic. The people who are at risk are older people. So those people who risk it to go to Thanksgiving, maybe because they want to see their family anymore or whatever. By taking that risk, understand you may infect somebody with it. But here's the thing. The key to dealing with coronavirus is boosting your immune system. So why don't you try this for Thanksgiving? Eat properly. Eat healthy. Right? That's what I would suggest to people. Anyway, this was a side note I'm just saying, as much as Joe Biden is president of the United States, I do see who he's aligning himself with, and some of it is troubling. And, we can't have the same old game. that was played. And this is not a time for politics and playing politics in real time. And I hope that the president-elect understands that we here that the people are not there to play politics with in any way. Don't play it. Look at the best possible solution. Don't look at whether it's a Republican solution or a Democratic solution. Look at the best possible solution for people. And he should be willing to engage, find out what the Trump presidency and what the Trump regime was doing, so they can liaise with that and see if they can work along with that to the best interest of the people. And I hope they will push healthier living. You know, Michelle Obama used to push that stuff. I heard Bill Mahler talking about that healthier living. That's important. I know it's past 12 right now where I live. I'm going back to sleep. I was sleeping before this. This is why I woke up, did my thing, and I'm going back to sleep now. I'll catch you guys later tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more boxing, man. So I hope you guys have a good one. And what you need. Peace. God bless you all.